Not that big either, Brenda.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're gonna hear my cat in a little bit.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so it looks like we're live, and I've hidden everybody who is participating, so that's good. I mean, it's not good. We'll come back later. This is part of our prayer series on becoming shaliach tzibur, prayer leaders, and for general learnings. We're going to be talking about Birchot Hashacar. These are the first group of blessings that we say in the morning. We can say them in or out of synagogue. There's no requirement to say them in synagogues. A lot of people do. We do. Um, okay. So when you enter the synagogue, a lot of people say Ma Tovu, which we have on page 101 in Lev Shalem. So we'll start there. And there's a lot of nice songs that go with it. How lovely are your dwellings, Jacob, your sanctuaries, people of Israel. Um, then we have the blessings for putting on the talis, putting on tefillin. So if you just think about that's kind of a natural order. You walk into synagogue, you put in your talis, you put on your tefillin. If you're home, you do the same thing. Then traditionally there's a Don Olam or Yigdal, although we don't say that a lot in conservative synagogues. We'll do those two at the end. Then in Lev Shalem, we actually go back to page 99. Page 99. So I want you guys to go there now. There's a prayer. The first one, I don't know if you guys can see it on page 99, the very top, it says personal prayer on arising. Moda ani lefanecha melechai v'kayam shechazarta bi nishmati bechemla rabba amunatecha. I thank you, living and eternal sovereign, for your kindness in restoring my soul. How great is your faithfulness? This is what you should say, boom, first thing that you wake up. A lot of times we'll say it in synagogue as well. There's again, and I'll say this, Birchot Hashacar, I'll say this again and again, there's no requirement to say this in synagogue, and there's no set order. So the order I'm giving you is suggested. There's no set order, but traditionally you would say this right when you get up. And I would suggest, like, just for this week, I'm going to give you guys a suggestion of saying this just for a week. You can do anything for a week, and this in 3 other lines. So this idea of in Judaism, we have this idea that you sort of have a 60th of death during sleep, and that when you wake up, you are thankful to be alive. Um, okay. Then afterwards, again, so the one where I took my notes was we had a bracha for hand washing. Here it's in Lev Shalem. It's actually the second to bottom. You should see it says hand washing in capital letters. You, like, again, when you first wake up, traditionally you say the Modeh Ani and you wash your hands. The idea is that your hands get dirty during the night. They're traveling all over the place and you don't know where it is. And so you wake up with tamei hands, so you wash your hands. You wake up with unclean hands, so you wash your hands and you say Al Natilat Yadayim. It's the exact same prayer we say right before the Emotzi. Then the next prayer in Lev Shalem on the bottom here is called the body. This is a blessing. You can say it when you wake up. Traditionally, a lot of people say it right after they go to the bathroom. I've said it when I was a hospital chaplain. I said it a lot with people. It's blessing your body and how amazing it is. And it says, that crafted the human body with wisdom, creating within it many openings and passageways. That should even a single passageway rupture or a single opening close up, it would no longer be possible to exist and stand before you. Birchot Adonai, healer of all flesh, who creates wondrously. And that's kind of a cool prayer. So again, the trigger for this is usually like a prayer of thanksgiving after you go to the bathroom. And if you've had troubles in that regard, it actually makes sense. But Of course, we teach it to kids who haven't usually had troubles in that regard. It doesn't make sense. So depending where you are on the life cycle, this might be extremely funny or extremely wise. So that's that prayer. So you should be aware for it. And then the fourth prayer we have on this page is on the middle. My soul is called the soul. Elohei neshama shenatata bi tahorli, is this idea that it's something that can be said when you're first waking up, thanking God for your pure soul. And I do want to get into a little bit of a theology in here. This is a theological viewpoint that differentiates us from other religions. We don't have this idea of original sin. The soul that you have is pure. The soul that children have are pure. We go through and we sully our souls sometimes by doing wrong actions, and it's always possible to do tshuva to get rid of those actions. But your core soul is always pure, and it's always a spark of God. If you sort of put that, if you come from a background where you learned about original sin and that you have to repent for original sin or have to do something again to get rid of that Adam and Eve sin, we don't believe that. We don't believe that at all. We believe that you are pure and that you want to be, your soul wants to be goodly, and that everybody is a good person, and you're like Devekut, that you're always trying to come back to this state of godliness, and you can, because it's in you. So any of these prayers can be said at the synagogue or not. Again, when you sit in synagogue, if you're not the prayer leader has to go through. When you're learning to be a prayer leader, you learn to go through them. But when you're not the prayer leader, really take the luxury and the time to think about one of these prayers and just mull on it. Okay, so then we go to page 103. And this is, 103. And this is actually what's called Birchot Hashacar. It's the name of the section of prayer, and it's also the name of this particular prayer. And this is the one that sounds like, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher nata l'sofivina lehachin ben yom uvein laila. We say that every day. If you go to most synagogues, they'll say that every day. It's actually a group of, if you read through, it can be ordered in the way that you wake up in the morning. So a lot of people will say it as they wake up in the morning. Thank you for straightening up the bends when you get out of bed. Thank you for giving sight to the blind. That's when you open your eyes. Who clothes the naked? That's when you put on your clothes. Who steadies our steps? That's walking around. And again, like I want to say, we can make these anything you want. So you can write your own Birchot Hashacar, which is what we're going to do when this lecture ends. Then the prayer after that, and then that is a penitentiary prayer. And then the prayer right below that, it looks like it's in the same paragraph. It's kind of cool. There's some kind of cool history there. This was written by Yehuda Hanassi. Anyone remember who Yehuda Hanassi is? Judah the Prince?
I don't know.
I don't either.
Okay, so he's called Rabbi in the Talmud. He was, there was like in 135, 217, there was this thing called the Bar Kokhba revolt. The Romans were occupying forces in Israel at this time. This is after the destruction of the Second Temple. Bar Kokhba revolt was a disaster. We lost. And we became a vassal of the Roman Empire. And Yehuda Hanassi was leader of the community at that point. He's leader of the community. He did a good job. For most part. He codified the Mishnah, as if you're like a student of Jewish history, which means like he compiled, I don't want to say he wrote it, but he compiled the first draft of the oldest seed of the Talmud. So this is a big guy in Jewish thought. And he wrote this little prayer. and that's right under here. That's kind of hidden, and it's kind of a cool prayer and doesn't get a lot of attention. But he wrote this prayer, and he said we slipped it in, and he said, "Protect us from evil beings." I think he meant the Romans, and evil occurrences for bad things happening to my community. So he just slipped that in right there, and he's praying as kind of a political prayer, very unnoticeable, but it's quite striking when you think about it. So he's praying against evil people and evil occurrences. Um, and then we have, Birchot Adonai, who acts with kindly love to the people Israel. Um, so yeah, so that's kind of cool. Um, and on page 106, we go on. This prayer, again, was made in the 5th century by a Persian ruler. I'm just going to spell his name because I can never pronounce it. Yezdejerd. So in Persia, in the 5th century, the Jews were forbidden from saying the Shema. The prevailing religion at that time was Zoroastrianism, which has a lot about the duality of divine. And so we could not say, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, that God is one. So they wrote this kind of prayer in substitution of the Shema. If we are personally, whenever I this is something I skip because we're saying the Shema again, but it's kind of cool. People like it. And this one sounds like Ashreinu Ma Tov Chalkeinu Ma Naim Goraleinu Uma Yafaya Rushatenu. And then in the middle of this prayer, they'll actually say Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Right. So that's that prayer. It originally was written as a substitute for the Shema, and it does have that line in there. A lot of people like it. Like if I look out and I see that there are people who I know who like to sing along with that line, then I'll go ahead and say it. But if you're prayer leading and you're stuck for time, you can definitely skip it. Okay. But that's the history, and it's nice. That's the history of the prayer. And then we move on to page 107. These are passages of study. They're the same passages. It's a law. You're supposed to study a little Torah every day. I still like that a lot. And so they pick 3 passages that you can say it. You say the bracha before Torah study. So anyone who says that you can't do Birchot Torah unless you have an actual Torah, it's not true. You say it right here. You can say an Aliyah right here. And then this satisfies if people aren't going to study Torah the rest of the day, that they'll do that, and they have a concluding prayer. If we skip this, like in prayer, you don't worry, because as long as there are other prayers later on in the service that are also considered Torah study, so you do fulfill your mitzvot of Torah study, even if you skip this, and you go to the rest of the service, and you go to the rest of the service. But no, it's nice. There's Kaddish D'Rabbanan, which is on page 111, which is another way of Kaddish. If you do the Torah study, you should do this. This one, the Kaddish D'Rabbanan, does require a minyan. And because Birchot Hashacar is done first thing as the service starts, even the most august of synagogues might not have a minyan at this point. Okay. So after that, in Lev Shalem, we have a lot of psalms that are for specific times of the year. Remember the people doing the sacrifices in the Beit HaMikdash, Batei Mikdash, said certain psalms on certain days. We preserve that, so we have that. Then on page 120, we have a psalm for the morning, a dedication for the house of David, again, and Hafachtem Estabil Macholi. And that's, again, that's the psalm that comes through from the time of the Beit HaMikdash, and it ends with the mourner's Kaddish. If you have a minyan, the mourner's Kaddish. Okay, so that is Birchot Hashacar. We will continue, and I'm available, and we'll learn all those together. And now I'm going to stop this lecture, and we'll work just with the students that stood up, came here live, and we're going to talk more about the actual Birchot Hashacar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten levin vinam lehavin bein yom uvein laila. I just said that from memory. Might be wrong, but okay, we'll talk about that one. So thank you, and I hope to see you again.